Welcome to the debate. So, what if the exact things that completely ruin our vacations are actually the only things capable of curing our burnout,
Oh, I like where this is going.
right? Today, we are looking at this really fascinating travelogue of a couple's trip to Costa Rica. And it starts with a very familiar setup. You have two people completely exhausted from months of juggling back-to-back coaching sessions, demanding travel clients, and they just decide they need to unplug.
Yeah, they wanted pure, uninterrupted tranquility. No Wi-Fi, just sipping coconut water on a pristine beach.
Exactly. A perfectly executed itinerary of relaxation. But naturally, the actual world rarely respects a drafted itinerary. Almost immediately, the trip just devolves into this cascade of unpredictable, messy mishaps.
To put it mildly.
Yeah, their rental Jeep gets hopelessly swallowed by deep jungle mud. They accidentally order and eat fried ants because they misread a local menu. The serene, perfectly planned escape just totally collapses.
It really does.
Which brings us to our central question today. When we are desperately seeking restoration, is the ultimate value of travel found in the unpredictable disruption of our routines, the chaos? Or does our tendency to romanticize these chaotic mishaps completely ignore our fundamental psychological need for baseline comfort and planned execution?
It's a great question.
I'll be arguing that it's the unpredictable chaos, the total breakdown of our plans, that actually forces us into the present moment and creates a genuinely meaningful experience.
And I come at it from a different way. I will be arguing that the so-called chaos is only enjoyable and only restorative because it is heavily subsidized by a deep, unacknowledged foundation of comfort and security.
Okay, well, let's start with why this Costa Rica narrative is such a perfect case study for the absolute necessity of disruption. We have to understand the specific type of exhaustion this couple was facing, right? The back-to-back coaching sessions.
Yes.
When you live your life in a hyper-scheduled way, your brain gets stuck in a state of anticipatory anxiety. You are perpetually living like 15 minutes in the future, worrying about the next call, the next deliverable, the next deadline.
Right. Your brain is basically just a giant scheduling algorithm at that point.
Exactly. And the trap we fall into is thinking that we can cure that exhaustion by simply swapping our work spreadsheet for a vacation spreadsheet. We think, I will schedule my tranquility just as rigorously as my Tuesday morning meetings.
2 p.m. spiritual rejuvenation.
Right, at the waterfall. But your brain is still running the exact same anxious algorithm. It isn't until day 2, when their rental Jeep gets stuck in mud so deep the tires actually vanish, that the algorithm breaks. They are totally stranded.
It's quite the visual.
It is. And then a troop of curious monkeys appear in the pouring rain, and one incredibly bold monkey actually snatches the husband's sunglasses right off his head,
Oh, man.
climbs onto the roof of the sinking Jeep, and just starts posing like a rock star. And the text notes they couldn't stop laughing for hours.
I mean, it is a phenomenal image. I'll give you that.
Right? And structurally, this cognitive disruption is exactly what they needed. When a monkey steals your glasses in a tropical downpour while your car literally sinks into the earth, your brain simply cannot ruminate on your travel clients.
No, definitely not.
It forces what psychologists call environmental presence. The stress loops are severed. Rigid expectations are the enemy of genuine experience, and I'd argue this chaos was the necessary circuit breaker to actually begin their vacation.
I love the image of the monkey as a circuit breaker. I really do. But let's look at what is actually happening in the human brain here. Because what you are describing as a necessary, spontaneous cognitive disruption is actually a textbook example of post hoc rationalization.
Wait, how is laughing at a monkey post hoc? They were laughing in the moment.
They were laughing, yes, but only because their brains had already run a lightning-fast subconscious risk assessment.
Oh, come on.
No, hear me out. The brain is an incredible public relations machine for our own lives. When we experience a stressor like, say, a vehicle getting immobilized in a remote jungle during a storm, our amygdala fires up. That is an objectively dangerous situation.
Sure, it's tense.
Right. But why does it become a comedy show instead of a terrifying survival scenario? Because of the context surrounding the event. The text explicitly notes they were on their way to a remote jungle lodge. They had a guaranteed pre-booked destination with a roof, a bed, and safety.
But they were still stuck in the mud. I mean, the lodge being 10 miles away doesn't pull the Jeep out of the ditch.
No, of course not, but it acts as a psychological safety net. The chaos you are championing here is fundamentally a luxury. It's a luxury only the comfortable can afford to laugh at.
I don't know about that.
Think about how the brain edits memories to protect our ego. We smooth over the initial panic, the frustration of the spinning tires, the wet clothes, and we highlight the absurd humor of the monkey, because framing it as a quirky adventure makes us feel resilient.
Which they were.
But if they didn't possess the financial and logistical safety net of that lodge, lake, if they were truly stranded in the jungle without resources, that monkey is not a rock star. That monkey is an active threat to their limited supplies in a survival scenario. The baseline comfort is what allows the brain to permit the laughter.
See, I think you're giving the itinerary way too much credit. Because isn't a perfectly executed itinerary, complete with seamless transfers to a luxury jungle lodge, just another manifestation of that back-to-back control they were desperately trying to escape?
I don't think so.
Well, let's look at how the rest of the trip unfolds. The very next morning, they embark on this eco-adventure hike to a hidden waterfall, and the tour was marketed to them as a place filled with purification energy.
Which is just such a brilliant, absurd piece of tourism marketing.
Totally. It's the tourism industry packaging transcendence and spiritual purification as a shiny consumer good, right? It's curated, artificial comfort.
Sure.
But then, the raw reality of the jungle interrupts that curated experience. A giant wild iguana blocks the trail and simply refuses to move.
Right.
And the text states that everyone froze. That physical reaction, the freezing, indicates a genuine, unmediated psychological interruption. Their expectation of a smooth, serene walk toward this purification energy was abruptly halted by a brute, wild animal.
Okay, but
Let me just finish this thought. The guide ultimately tosses a banana near it and shouts, "Offering accepted." That moment shattered the illusion of the sterile eco-adventure. It proved that messy, unscripted moments strip away the artifice of human control.
okay, but does nature always provide a harmless funny monkey or a lazy iguana?
Well, no, but
What happens when the disruption isn't a cute photo op? You are pointing to the iguana as this raw, unfiltered intrusion of the wild. But look at the actual mechanics of that encounter. The situation was entirely mediated by a local tour guide,
yes.
a professional who knew exactly how to handle the animal by tossing a banana.
The guide resolved it, sure, but the disruption still happened. I mean, the fear was real for a moment.
But the fear was safe. The guide managed the risk, pacified the creature, and even provided a witty theatrical punchline with the whole offering accepted bit.
Yeah, it was a good line.
It was. But that isn't the chaotic reality of the jungle breaking through. That is the safety net catching them beautifully. Think about it like the shock absorbers on a car.
Okay, walk me through that.
When you drive over a massive pothole, the bump is real. You feel the physical drop. But the shock absorbers, the car's suspension system, compress to absorb the violent kinetic energy so the chassis doesn't snap in half.
Right.
The tour guide is the shock absorber. The tourists outsourced their physical safety to a local expert so they could safely experience the visceral thrill of a wild animal without carrying any of the actual liability.
I see.
It wasn't unscripted chaos. It was a highly managed interaction masquerading as chaos. If you're listening to this and thinking, ugh, I would be terrified of a giant wild iguana, you are having the correct biological response. The only reason they enjoyed it is because the guide's expertise cushioned the blow.
Okay, I see your point about the guide acting as a shock absorber for physical danger, but you're focusing incredibly heavily on the physical infrastructure of comfort. I'm looking at the psychological changes happening to the travelers.
Okay.
Because the breakdown of plans didn't stop with the guided tour. Throughout the rest of the week, they experienced a continuous cascade of unfiltered moments that no guide could have orchestrated and no shock absorber could entirely cushion.
Like what specifically?
Well, they misread a local menu and ended up eating fried ants.
Oh, right.
And instead of spitting them out in horror, they actually leaned into the experience. They described them vividly as crunchy and surprisingly nutty.
Yeah, that was wild.
Right? And they found themselves spontaneously dancing under a torrential jungle rainstorm with locals. They shared their room with a gecko. You claim they were just riding a theme park ride with safety restraints, but accidentally eating insects and getting soaked in tropical downpours aren't carefully engineered attractions.
No, they're not.
As the perfectly laid plan breaking down entirely. And in the unpredictable space left behind, genuine human connection and presence flourished. They had to actually taste, feel, and engage with a foreign environment.
I'm not denying that they engaged with the environment, but every single one of those genuine, messy interactions is still completely tethered to the baseline comfort they secured beforehand.
How so?
Let's look closely at the gecko example. We cannot gloss over the modifier used in the source text. They shared an ocean view room with that friendly gecko. The fact that they have a secure, private ocean view room to return to is the ultimate psychological tether.
You don't think you can appreciate a gecko without an ocean view?
I think it radically changes the psychology of the encounter. Think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs applied to vacationing. Dancing under a jungle storm is an exhilarating cinematic experience only when you know you have a dry, secure room and a hot shower waiting for you at the end of the night.
Well, sure.
If you don't have that room, the jungle rainstorm isn't a spontaneous dance party. It's a fast track to hypothermia and misery. Eating crunchy, nutty fried ants because of a misread menu is a quirky culinary adventure only when you know you have the financial means to order something else if you truly detest it, and when you know you aren't actually at risk of caloric starvation.
So you are saying the wealth and security effectively neutralize the chaos?
I'm saying it frames it. The gecko is a friendly roommate instead of a horrifying pest infestation, because the overarching environment is one of luxury and hygiene. My argument is that planning and comfort do not destroy the genuine experience. They are the strict prerequisites that allow human beings to tolerate the unexpected.
But if we rely completely on those prerequisites, if we never let the itinerary fail, we never actually grow. Let's look at how they summarized the entire trip. Why did this couple ultimately declare this, in their words, the craziest vacation ever, and more importantly, our favorite vacation ever? The text explicitly states their reasoning, not because things went smoothly, but because everything went wrong in the most unforgettable way.
But why did it go wrong in a good way?
Because human beings are meaning-making machines. If everything had gone exactly according to their initial plan, if they had flawlessly sipped the coconut water at exactly the right temperature and seen the waterfall without the iguana and eaten exactly what they thought they ordered, they would have had a very pleasant week.
Nothing wrong with a pleasant week?
No, but a pleasant week seamlessly fades into the background noise of life. You forget it by the time you're on the flight home. The unpredictability generated a shared narrative. They came home with mud-streaked shoes and surreal stories.
True.
The chaos forced them to build resilience in real time, together as a couple. They had to rely on each other to laugh it off. A flawless, highly comfortable trip where every need is perfectly anticipated could never provide that level of psychological bonding. It is the friction that creates the warmth.
It is the friction that creates the warmth. I mean, I agree with that principle, but I have to push back on the conclusion they drew, because this narrative is a prime example of survivorship bias.
Survivorship bias? How so?
Survivorship bias is the logical error where we concentrate only on the people or things that survived a process while inadvertently overlooking those that didn't because of their lack of visibility. We only hear these glowing, highly romanticized narratives of chaos from the travelers who survived the chaos comfortably.
Okay, you argue that the vacation was their favorite because everything went wrong. I fundamentally disagree with that causality. I argue the vacation was their favorite because they possessed the material resources and the psychological safety to cognitively reframe minor disasters as an adventure.
Wait, so you think they are just spinning a bad trip into a good one? I think it's a concept outdoor enthusiasts call Type 2 fun.
Oh, right, yeah.
Type 1 fun is fun in the moment, getting a massage, drinking a great cocktail. Type 2 fun is absolutely miserable while it's happening, but it is deeply fun in retrospect. Getting a car stuck in the mud is classic Type 2 fun. But Type 2 fun only works if you survive it without permanent damage.
Well, obviously.
Look at their concluding shared motto, "If it rains, monkeys just laugh." It's a beautiful sentiment. But life's unpredictability is only beautiful when it does not fundamentally threaten your well-being.
If the Jeep had broken an axle and they missed their flight home, costing them a major business contract, or if the fried ants had caused a severe allergic reaction requiring a hospital visit in a foreign country, the narrative changes instantly.
Sure, but that didn't happen.
Right, but they are praising the chaos when what they are actually benefiting from is their own privileged position to laugh at minor inconveniences.
I hear you. But subsidized or not, privileged or not, the mechanism of change still requires the disruption to occur. I am not arguing that we should seek out mortal danger or catastrophic failure to have a good vacation.
No, I know.
I'm arguing that our modern obsession with eliminating all friction from our leisure time is fundamentally counterproductive to the goal of relaxation.
How is it counterproductive to want things to go smoothly?
Because when we attempt to mathematically guarantee our tranquility, when we demand the itinerary to be executed without a single deviation, we create an incredibly brittle experience.
Brittle.
Yes, the slightest breeze of reality shatters it, causing immense frustration. If your entire goal is to sit on the beach by 2 p.m. and it rains, your vacation is ruined.
Right.
But the Costa Rica trip demonstrates that when you proactively surrender the illusion of control, when you allow the mud and the rain and the monkeys to invade your perfectly drafted blueprint, you tap into a much deeper, more sustainable vein of joy.
Yeah.
They realize that the craziest vacations aren't the ones that go as planned, because plans are inherently limiting. The human imagination can only plan for what it already knows. The unexpected provides the contrast necessary to actually perceive the beauty of the world.
I hear that. And releasing the illusion of control can be incredibly liberating. But I maintain that you cannot appreciate the warmth of the friction if you are freezing to death.
Fair enough.
The text states explicitly that they went to Costa Rica to heal from a lack of control over their own demanding schedules. To claim that what they needed to cure that burnout was more lack of control seems completely paradoxical.
Well, it's a different kind of lack of control.
Maybe, but the comfort of the jungle lodge, the expertise of the guide tossing the banana, the absolute hygiene and security of the ocean view room, these were the sturdy walls of a container.
A container for the chaos.
Exactly. Inside that strong, secure container, they could allow a little bit of chaos to rattle around. They could safely enjoy the gecko, the ants, and the rain. But if the container itself was compromised, the joy evaporates immediately.
Yeah.
We should not dismiss the value of the coconut water by the beach baseline. Planning is not the enemy of genuine experience. It is the structural support system that prevents a funny anecdote from becoming a genuine trauma.
Okay. But if that container is too rigid, if the walls are too thick, there is absolutely no room for the unexpected to get in at all. Look at how they ultimately processed the memory of the trip. They didn't return home talking about the thread count of the sheets in the ocean view room. They didn't rave about the specific flavor profile of the coconut water they managed to drink on the days it didn't rain.
True.
They returned with surreal stories and mud-streaked shoes. The mud on their shoes is the empirical, physical evidence of their interaction with the real world. You argue the container was necessary, and perhaps it was, but the container is not the prize.
Right.
The container is merely the vehicle. The actual substance of the joy, the laughter that lasted for hours in the pouring rain while a monkey posed on their Jeep, was entirely generated by the breakdown of their expectations. While humans naturally gravitate toward comfort, this narrative proves that growth, genuine laughter, and the most unforgettable memories reside strictly in the unexpected.
And I would summarize my position by saying that while the mud-streaked shoes and surreal stories are indeed the trophies they brought home, we cannot ignore the factory that allowed them to produce those trophies.
The factory? I like that.
The capacity to find beauty in a stuck Jeep or a stolen pair of sunglasses is a direct testament to the restorative power of their underlying security. They could laugh at the rain monkeys because they were, at their core, fundamentally safe.
Yeah.
The romanticization of chaos is a very natural human tendency. It's that type 2 fun we talked about, our brain's PR machine looking back on the survived inconvenience. But we shouldn't let it indict the necessity of planning. The baseline of comfort is precisely what allows the human mind to convert an unpredictable mishap into a beloved, humorous memory.
It truly is a fascinating psychological case study. Both of us can certainly agree that this brief Costa Rican travelogue offers a profound window into how human beings process, endure, and ultimately remember their leisure time.
Absolutely. The tension between our desire for wild, unpredictable authenticity and our deep-seated need for safety and comfort is a fundamental part of the human experience. It shapes not just how we travel, but how we construct our daily lives, how we write our own personal narratives, and what we seek when we need to heal from the modern world.
It is certainly more to explore in this material, and we encourage our listeners to view their own past travel memories through this dual lens. Think back to your own supposed disasters on the road. Were they joyful because the chaos forced you to be intensely present and break your stress loops? Or were they joyful because you knew, deep down, you were perfectly secure and acting with a safety net?
It's a great thing to reflect on.
It is. As we wrap up today, I am brought back to our starting point. We draft these intricate architectural blueprints for our vacations, expecting them to house our happiness perfectly. We meticulously plan every pillar, every beam, every afternoon excursion. But perhaps the true value of the blueprint isn't in its flawless execution. Perhaps we only build the blueprint so that when the jungle inevitably knocks it down, we can finally look up and see the sky.